Josh Hartnett accidentally killed the Avengers. No, seriously. In 2009, one casting decision triggered a domino effect that could have destroyed the biggest movie franchise of all time. This is the alternate timeline where Iron Man succeeds and Marvel still loses everything. Leaked boardroom transcripts, studio emails, and a $525 million loan with a nuclear clause, we've pieced together how Marvel's boldest gamble nearly backfired spectacularly. This isn't a fan theory. This is what almost happened after Iron Man, and how the MCU as we know it barely survived. To understand how it all fell apart, we have to go back to the day Iron Man saved Marvel, then nearly sunk it. May 2nd, 2008, Iron Man opens to $585 million worldwide. Marvel Studios has its first hit, but according to a leaked Merrill Lynch memo dated May 15th, the celebration lasted exactly 2 weeks. To understand what happens next, we need to go back to year 2005. Marvel Studios found itself at a crossroads after clawing its way out of bankruptcy. Their crown jewels, Spider-Man and the X-Men, were locked away at rival studios. What remained were characters few outside comic shops could name: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. For Marvel, these weren't just B-listers. They were the last hope. Building a cinematic universe wasn't a creative choice, it was survival. To make it happen, Marvel struck a deal that would define its future. They secured $525 million by pledging character film rights as collateral. According to the loan agreement, if Iron Man failed, the banks would seize the rights to Captain America, Thor, and Black Panther. This wasn't a routine loan, it was a lifeline with a noose attached. But Iron Man's success created a new problem: overconfidence. The first crack appears with the Incredible Hulk. In our reality, it underperformed. In this timeline, it bombed spectacularly. Opening weekend, $31 million domestic. Final gross, $89 million worldwide, triggering a clause buried on page 847 of the Merrill Lynch agreement. Edward Norton's behind-the-scenes drama explodes when he's fired via TMZ at 3:47 p.m. on July 11th, 2008. Norton's response, leaked to Entertainment Weekly. They promised creative control, then micromanaged every line reading. Marvel Studios' amateur hour disguised as a corporation. Entertainment Weekly's leaked July 2008 cover story, titled Marvel's Green Disaster, quotes Norton saying, "This company treats actors like puppets in a $200 million student film." But the real disaster comes from Marvel's panic response. A leaked board meeting transcript from August 5th, 2008, shows executives demanding no more unknowns, no more risks. Marvel CEO Isaac Perlmutter reportedly said, "Iron Man worked because of star power. We need bankable names, not lottery tickets." This decision destroys everything. Because instead of taking a chance on an unknown Australian actor named Chris Hemsworth, Marvel makes a choice that kills the MCU before it can begin. They cast Josh Hartnett as Thor. On paper, Hartnett checked every box, but behind the scenes, the cracks widened. By 2010, the entire Avengers plan was collapsing before it even began. March 12, 2009. According to Hollywood Reporter Archives, Marvel's board overrules director Kenneth Branagh's choice for Thor. Branagh wanted Hemsworth after his audition tape showed remarkable charisma, the same charisma that would later balance mythic grandeur with self-deprecating charm. But Marvel's executives, terrified after Hulk's failure and the looming financial review, demand a sure thing. Josh Hartnett's agent demands $15 million upfront plus back-end points. Marvel, desperate for success, agrees. The contract, leaked during Hartnett's 2017 divorce, includes organic catering and first-class accommodations throughout production. But from day one, it's a disaster. In leaked behind-the-scenes footage, Hartnett asks director Kenneth Branagh, "Can we just make this guy more like a regular action hero? All this mythology stuff is weird." Branagh's response, captured on a hot mic: "That mythology stuff is the character." The script's playful moments, written for a lead who could balance divine power with human vulnerability, land with a thud under Hartnett's performance. An insider executive producer would later call Thor's production a $150 million therapy session. May 6, 2011, Thor opens to $47 million domestic, Marvel's lowest opening ever. The problem isn't Hartnett's acting, it's his complete lack of chemistry with the material. Leaked test screening reports describe audiences laughing at dramatic moments and checking phones during action sequences. Social media explodes. Hashtag Thorflop trends globally for 6 days. A YouTube compilation titled Josh Hartnett's 10 Most Awkward Thor Moments reaches 4.7 million views in 48 hours. The Los Angeles Times Review, killed before publication but leaked in 2016, called it a $150 million Saturday Night Live sketch that forgot to include comedy. Final worldwide gross, $178 million, barely breaking even after marketing costs. But Marvel's board learns the wrong lesson. Internal emails from June 2011, revealed in a 2019 Sony hack, show executives demanding Captain America be darker and more serious to avoid Thor's comedy problem. The panic sets in deeper. To counter Thor's perceived silliness, the studio demands a complete tonal shift for Captain America, the first Avenger. They recast Chris Evans with unknown television actor Michael Cassidy, chosen because he looks like Chris Evans but costs 90% less. Without Evans' earnest charm, the film becomes exactly what Marvel fears most, a movie stripped of the earnestness that made Steve Rogers resonate. Test audiences prove uninterested in the grim wartime tone, with focus groups calling Cassidy's performance aggressively forgettable. Captain America, the First Avenger opens July 22, 2011 to complete apathy. Opening weekend, $38 million domestic. Final gross, $156 million worldwide. 2 disasters in a row. Marvel's $525 million loan enters critical review. The bank begins seizing character rights as collateral. Then Robert Downey Jr. sees the writing on the wall. September 15th, 2011. According to court documents from Downey's 2012 contract dispute, Marvel attempts to cut his Avengers salary from $50 million to $10 million, citing changed financial circumstances. Downey's response? Leaked to TMZ, I carried Iron Man to $585 million. I won't subsidize Marvel's incompetence. The lawsuit becomes front-page news. Downey's legal team releases internal Marvel emails showing executives calling him too expensive for a failing franchise. One email from Marvel CFO David Maisel reads, "We can't afford RDJ when we can barely afford to keep the lights on." October 3rd, 2011, Variety breaks the story. Robert Downey Jr. exits Marvel. Avengers film officially canceled. Marvel's stock drops 40% in one day. According to a leaked Disney internal assessment, Marvel's value has dropped from $4 billion to $800 million in 18 months. Comic-Con 2012's Marvel panel is canceled. Hall H sits empty while DC announces Man of Steel to thunderous applause. Marvel's debt-to-asset ratio has reached critical failure threshold. Captain America, Thor, and Black Panther revert to Merrill Lynch ownership by December 2011. Disney, which in our timeline bought Marvel for $4 billion, instead acquires Lucasfilm for $4.05 billion in 2012. A leaked Disney board memo states, Marvel represents significant risk with diminishing returns. Lucasfilm offers safer, more established IP value. By January 2012, Marvel Studios ceases to exist as an independent entity. Kevin Feige joins Warner Bros. As a producer. The Avengers script, written by Joss Whedon, becomes Hollywood legend, a great film that will never be made. The final insult comes when Sony purchases Marvel's remaining film rights for $150 million in March 2012, less than Iron Man's production budget. But the real tragedy isn't the business failure, it's what the world loses. So, what does a world without the MCU actually look like? Let me show you. Picture this. A world where Avengers Assemble never echoes in theaters and the word MCU means nothing. Halloween 2012, kids dress as Batman and Spider-Man, but there are no Iron Man costumes, no Captain America shields, no Thor hammers. The Marvel aisle that exists in our world never appears. The merchandising remains smaller, quieter. Iron Man helmets and Captain America shields gather dust on toy store shelves, never reaching the fever pitch of must-have collectibles. Christmas morning, 2012. Children unwrap Wolverine figures and Batman toys, but no father ever shares an I love you 3000 moment with his daughter because that line is never written. The superhero landscape transforms completely. Without Marvel's success to chase, Warner Bros. Never rushes Justice League. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy stands alone, unchallenged. His dark, auteur-driven approach becomes the genre's gold standard. Fox's X-Men becomes the dominant franchise without any Marvel competition. Days of Future Past grosses $900 million in 2014. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine continues through 2020, becoming the longest-running superhero performance ever. Wolverine, Deadpool, and Magneto are the names on lunchboxes and t-shirts. Sony's Spider-Man thrives under Sam Raimi's continued direction. Spider-Man 4 releases in 2012, grossing $650 million. Tobey Maguire remains the only Spider-Man an entire generation knows. At Sony, the lack of a Marvel universe means no pressure to reboot or integrate Spider-Man. Comic-Con's Hall H becomes Fox and DC territory. No Marvel panel exists. Instead of seismic unified reveals, panels spotlight DC's darker thrillers and Fox's mutant sagas. The phrases "Wakanda forever" and "That's my secret, Cap," "I'm always angry" are never spoken. Online, speculation centers on Gotham's villains or mutant timelines, not on the whereabouts of an Infinity Stone. An entire generation grows up without shared universe storytelling. Post-credit scenes remain rare gimmicks, not cultural expectations. The very concept of a cinematic universe dies with Marvel's collapse. There's no blueprint for post-credits teases that promise more than they deliver. Streaming and television evolve differently. Disney Plus launches in 2019 without Marvel content, relying solely on Star Wars and Disney classics, lacking the MCU draw that in real life was a launch cornerstone. The concept of expanding a film universe into streaming miniseries never becomes a trend. The actors' lives change dramatically. Robert Downey Jr. wins his first Oscar in 2015 for a Howard Hughes biopic, but never achieves global superstardom. Children don't know his name. Chris Evans stars in indie dramas. His biggest hit grosses $78 million worldwide. He never becomes America's sweetheart. Chris Hemsworth returns to Australian television, unknown outside Australia until 2018. When Warner Brothers finally attempts Justice League in 2017, audiences are indifferent. The shared universe concept feels foreign. Focus groups respond with confusion. Why are all these different characters in the same movie? Superhero fatigue sets in by 2015, 5 years early, because without Marvel's innovation, the genre stagnates in repetitive origin stories and standalone adventures. But the real cost wasn't in lost billions, it was in the silence left behind. The numbers tell only part of the story. Avengers: Endgame generated $2.79 billion globally, but that's not its real legacy. Its real legacy is the father in Ohio who took his teenage son to every Marvel movie since Iron Man, creating an 11-year tradition that ended with them crying together during Tony Stark's final scene. The real legacy is the couple in Denver who had their first date at Captain America and got married after Infinity War, with "I Love You 3000" engraved in their wedding rings. The real legacy is the single mother in Phoenix who worked double shifts for opening night tickets, giving her daughter memories that would last forever. In the alternate timeline, those memories never exist. Those traditions never form. Those connections never happen. The pop culture language of a generation is never spoken. No WandaVision memes, no Loki discourse, no build your own MCU watch list on streaming homepages. Kevin Feige once said, "We never set out to build a universe, we set out to make a great Iron Man movie." Brian Michael Bendis, who consulted on the script, recalled the mood as "fingers crossed," because failure meant the bank would own Marvel. But in 2008, every decision was made knowing failure meant losing everything. In that timeline, they lost it all. The $525 million gamble became a reminder that even the biggest dreams can collapse overnight. Josh Hartnett, in a 2019 interview, said, "I turned down Batman because I didn't want to be typecast as a superhero. Looking back, maybe I should have stuck to romantic comedies." In our world, Chris Hemsworth's Thor became a global icon. In that timeline, Josh Hartnett's Thor became a punchline that killed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One casting choice, one studio's panic, one moment where fear trumped vision, and the world never learned what it meant for heroes to assemble. When kids play superheroes today, they shout, "Avengers Assemble." In that timeline, they fight alone. No one knows what assembly means. No Endgame. No Infinity Saga. Just a $525 million reminder that even the biggest stories can disappear before they're told. Subscribe if you believe some risks create magic, even when they almost destroy everything. And tell us, which other entertainment empire almost never happened? The Star Wars saga that nearly died after Empire? The Harry Potter films that almost starred different actors? Together, we're exploring the timelines where one choice changed everything. Because the biggest stories in history are often the ones that almost never got told. Some timelines, don't forget, they're heroes.